Welcome back, everyone, to another review and thoughts on. This time, talking about a documentary that I saw recently. Actually saw a review of it on a cool guy on YouTube, Rambo Rap for Life. I'll link his channel down below. I give his channel a look. He does movie reviews, comment, whatever really requests for him to do. Cool guy. He did a review on this, and I saw pretty much a interview. I saw Dr. Phil's episode of this documentary guy on the documentary. Pretty much, this documentary is what is a woman? It's the question, because apparently, like, I don't know how to tackle this. It's not really my forte. Basically, it's a documentary on this guy named Matt Walsh who wants to find out what is basically a woman, because basically he goes in detail about trans people, of transitioning from like a guy to a girl or a girl to a guy or whatever. He's trying to figure out what makes a woman a woman. Is it based on biological, whatever, or if just the reality in her head of, I'm this, so you have to identify me as this because I say I am this, so therefore I am this, and you have to respect me. I'm gonna say right now, and people might take offense, might not. I don't really. It's not to not hit any feathers, or rattle any feathers. I'm not really a fan of the whole pronoun semantics that people have, created in this generation. I mean, we have things like pansexual, non-binary, which is, I believe, you relate to neither male or female, which I'm like, what? There's people he interviews in this where he asks them, like, what is a woman? What do you define as a woman? What is the definition of of a woman? And a lot of these people can't answer. He goes, there's like interviews of like professional doctors, pediatrician ladies. He even goes to like a women's march or protest march about, rights of women, and that even they don't know what a woman is. Like, some of them like get an attitude and, oh, you're not part of the march, so get out of here. And even like some girls like on the side who ask, like, what is a woman? They don't know, even though they're marching, they're in a woman's march, and they don't know what woman is. So what are you doing here then? You have this one doctor. There's this one woman. He like asked on the street. He interviewed where he's like, in my reality, if I say you don't exist, because in my reality you don't exist. So then she's like, well, okay, and that's your truth. I don't exist. But then he's like, but we're talking right now. We're standing here talking. I'm looking right at you. So you do exist. But then she's like, I don't know. Do I? To you, I don't know. I guess but in your truth, I guess I do. I don't exist because you say I don't, so I don't. I'm like, what? Like, literally, like, and like, then there's like stories of like, famous, I believe, doctors or scientists back in the day. John Money, I believe, is one of them. Kensington or whoever, experimenting on children, gender experiments and all that. One of them went wrong, or some of them went wrong. One of them, the one kid grew up to go on Oprah Winfrey. He ended up committing suicide for what happened to him. There's this one pediatrician lady who's like, babies know what their gender is, not people, or something like that. Or can a chicken lay eggs? Does that mean it's female just because we assign that role to them? I'm like, what? Yeah. Can a chicken cry? Well, I guess if the way they wake up people in the break of dawn when they're howling or whatever. Cock-a-doodle. I guess that's their way of crying. It's like, but yeah, you have that lady, which she was so like odd. And then there's the one college professor at one point he interviews, and like even he even asked like, why do you want to know? Why is that such interest? Like the guy wants to. You're the professor. Like you teach. You literally teach this. You teach this in your class, gender, trans, whatever. You teach this, and then you're like, I don't like your tone, and it's condescending and transphobic. I don't like you. I'm about to end this interview. It's like as soon as it's like if you don't agree with, the system, then you're an outcast. You're blackmailed. Or not blackmail, you're blacklisted at your job. There's even teachers nowadays which I believe it because, they're doing all these stuff with movies and where never mind. But like there's newscasts, breaking news on here and on this documentary they show footage of teachers being fired because they can't go with the program of this. If this student says they're so and so, you have to go with that, and you have to lie. You have to be in their. You have to play with their reality. So you have to just go along with their program. And like the teacher were like, no, I won't lie to my students about. And like there's literally a children's book where you have adults banging in the book. It's supposed to be a children's book, 10 and up, and like you have a picture of two adults in bed. I'm like, first of all, who published, what company allowed that to be published, and what school is okay with that, but we're gonna take away Dr. Seuss's books and blacklist his books and, burn his books. I don't get it. Like, even like some people, like there was like this one guy that owned the store he interviewed, where he had not altercation, but like an argument with a trans person where he was like, if you have a dick, then you're a dude. But then like the trans person took offense to that apparently, because like you're not really a woman if you have a guy's junk, which I agree. Like if you're a woman but you got dudes tools, then no, then you're a guy still. Sorry. Same if you're a guy and you have women's tools, then nope, you're still a woman. Or this one person that he interviews where they identify as a wolf, because like literally he says like, I was watching this anime when I was younger, and I don't know, something about it made me it resonated with me to where I identified with the character of a wolf, so I identify as a wolf, and I'm a furry, which is fine. If anybody's a furry of my subscribers, I mean, if any of you are furries, that's cool. But the whole forcing your agenda, not really agenda, but your views on folks, that's when I have a problem. Even with children, like the fact that they're teaching this to kids in schools and letting them literally pretend to be cats if they identify as a cat, and the teacher has to go along with it or they'll be fired. And I'm not joking, that's literally a thing. It's in the documentary and it's in... Watch the news. Like, Watch news. Type on YouTube news of teachers being fired because they won't get with the program of lying to go along with the charade. So that's like me saying, I'm an anime character, so, or I like Spider-Man, so I'm a human spider, so you have to address me as a human spider because I am a human spider, and Spider-Man. Or there's like, no, you're not. You're still a human. You're still. I see you as a human. Like, you can pretend to be what you want, but you're still a human to me. Even like the one conversation with this doctor who performs like uh, operations on folks. She like Matt asked her about. He like told her about this one guy that I guess cut his arm off or wanted to. He he identified himself as a disabled trans, which I guess that's a thing as well, where he literally, I guess he wanted to cut one part of his arm off so he would just have one arm, and he identified as a disabled trans because of that. And that's, she looked at that and said, that's crazy, he needs psychological help because he cut off parts of his body, but it's okay for the guy who thinks he's a woman to cut off parts of his body, cut his tools off. That's okay and mentally alright. And then you have like the story of like this one guy or woman who transitioned to a guy. She, or that person, I guess they're an activist, I believe, or something, and they speak out as well about, you know, we shouldn't be teaching this stuff to our kids, and then they're also giving kids like hormonal drugs to like stop puberty like from happening. Like they put it on pause apparently. That will help like girls developing whatever, or guys whatever, and you know that it stops puberty pretty much. And pretty much that's a lie because this person was on it, and even it's not reversible at all or whatever, and it's not paused. You can't pause puberty and stuff like that. Overall, it was an interesting interview documentary. I did get a few laughs because the stuff that like people just go on with, just the stuff that people nowadays, like this generation, to me is just, it's fine if you're gay, you're straight, bi, trans, whatever. But then when we get to like non-binary and I identify as a wolf or a cat, and you have to talk to me as if I'm a cat, so you have to answer my meows with a meow response, and that's where I like I'm not doing that. It's like I saw that movie They Them, which I didn't mind the film, but I thought it was kind of boring. It's barely even a slasher film. Like, I don't even think really anybody dies except the killer. And yeah, only the Kevin Bacon. But like, there's lame kills in that, and barely any kills really. I mean, there's, I believe, just 3 kills. But yeah, that's a lame attempt at a slasher. But that dealt with like trans and LGBTQT, whatever, plus stuff in it. I didn't like the name of, I didn't like the title of the movie, They Them. Like, just say you're a guy or a girl. Don't do this whole, I identify as a she, her, she, he, him. they, them, her, them, they, them. Like, that's too much for me to remember mentally, and I'll just stick with he or she, okay? Because that's what you are. That's what you're trying to identify really with. And then there's even talks of like stuff where women's sports, where you have a trans sport thing where you have guys that transition to be women and they want to join women's sports and they win, and like I felt bad for the one girl who was like talking about all this hard work I do, I practice every day, and I would have won had it not been for the two, you know, the two trans folks, because basically by a lot bio whatever, guys are a bit or more stronger than girls. I'm not saying girls can't beat up guys, because they can. I know a few, but the fact that, or even there's like even an interview he does with this one, I believe she was a college girl too, where she had to black her face out because she didn't want her identity to be known, who she was or where she went, because then she was even threatened that she'll be blacklisted and labeled transphobic online. And I'm like, that's so like not even. It just shows like how far down the rabbit hole this generation is going, more and more. With even Demi Lovato, I was a fan of her, and then she wants to. I identify as a non-binary, or then she was like, I'm going back to they that. What was it? Her, she, or she, her. I'm like, I thought you were first you were straight, and then I thought you were a lesbian, but now I guess you're she wants to go back and forth. She wants to play that whole whatever. I'm still a fan of her, just not as much. Not because of that, but because like her music hasn't really done anything for me after Confident. Like, she declined right after that. I like maybe a few of her songs off. I forget what was it? Love Me More. I forget what the other album after that came out. But yeah, her music kind of sucks now to me. But but yeah, this documentary, I would say, give it a watch. It's pretty educational. It's eye-opening for sure. Stuff that's going on. It even shows like montages of like people posting, oh, I'm getting, like, this one guy, or I guess he was a kid, like, oh, I'm getting my operation done tomorrow, so like he's like posting it online, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Why are you parading that should be private to you. That should be like a intimate, private thing for you, and not like the world to know that you're doing that. Or like there's like, again, interesting talks of identity stuff, and I would say give it a watch for sure. Also, it sucks at the end where I didn't like how Dr. Phil bowed down to because this guy Matt Walsh, he was on Dr. Phil, and he was like trying to like give his point across, and like he even asked like the two trans people, what is a woman, and even they couldn't answer. They like tried to bullcrap their way around it, like, oh, I can't answer that because I'm not a woman, so I don't identify as a woman, so I can't, or whatever. But like he like kept saying, he kept using the term woman, but he couldn't explain what it was. But yeah, But yeah, Dr. Phil apparently, I guess he decided to cut or cancel that entire episode, so you can't watch it on Hulu or anywhere, I guess. Except on YouTube, because somebody has it on YouTube, so. Which is cool and good. I'm disappointed in Dr. Phil. Because, I guess, because the two trans people were so offended and damaged by this guy's questions that were literally were legitimate questions and honest questions. But nope, we don't like that, so you gotta. I guess Dr. Phil doesn't want any bad press, so I gotta cut this, remove this from my, you know. So I'm disappointed in him with that, to know at the very end. But I did like how it ends where Matt goes to his wife and asks her straight up, what is a woman? And she asks, like, it's an adult female who needs help opening this jar of whatever it was in that jar. And then it just ends, and I like that. It was funny. But yeah, like the documentary overall, I would say it's a very good, educational, well edited documentary. Some people might complain it's one-sided. I didn't see it like that. I saw he interviewed like mainly both sides. He interviewed one doctor or a few doctors that didn't agree with what was that, and he did agree, or then he interviewed other doctors that did go with the program, and he interviewed a therapist, I believe. The guy was a therapist about that, and even he didn't get with that. So I don't think it's one-sided really. So I don't understand that complaint if people have that complaint. But yeah, I would say give it a watch for sure. I strongly recommend it. And leave comments down below if you're, you know, if you've seen this documentary, or what are your thoughts on it, and does it, if you're, you know, if you identify whatever, do you feel this was a good documentary? It represented or asked a good, interesting question, because I sure do. But yeah, thanks for watching. Take care. Peace and love. Oh, again, I will link down below Rambo Raps for Life YouTube channel. Check him out. Cool guy.